Hi folks, Jennifer Nelson here with Pocket Hours. Pocket Hours is the only podcast made by realtors for realtors. Come listen as I interview high-producing brokers to hear their best practices. And don't forget that while you are listening, you are also earning clock hour credit. Tune in every other week to hear from someone new, and please remember to tell your broker friends about Pocket Hours so more folks can elevate their business. Be the agent you would hire. Looking forward to having you listen in. Jennifer Nelson here with Pocket Hours, and I have the privilege of talking this morning to Candace Juarez. Candace Juarez is a new friend of mine, but is not new to real estate. She's been doing this for over 20 years and has started her own brokerage called Oak and Stone Realty in Grays Harbor area. She calls it Money, where she lives, and you'll get to hear a little bit about that. But she has some amazing things to say in this interview. A couple that I will touch on now in the intro is to say, people want to get to know you as a human first. Don't forget that. Don't be just a real estate head, talking head that just only talks about real estate. That's boring. No one cares as much about real estate, I promise. But they do want to know who you are because they're hiring you first, and then they're hiring you to take care of their real estate needs. She also talks about COVID rates, which I love. Toward the end of the interview, she talks about not being afraid of this new market that is different than it was a year ago, but that rates are still historically low, even though they're higher than they were a year ago, and that real estate will always be there. You just have to go find the business. So I'm excited for you to hear from Candace Juarez. And if you have anybody that's looking in that Grays Harbor area, please look up Oak and Stone. They'll take great care of your clients. Without further ado, here's Candace. Hello, folks. I am so excited to have you meet Candace Juarez this morning. She is on Pocket Hours with us, and yay, I'm so excited. I've only known her for a short time, but we just hit it off the minute we started talking at a restaurant, maybe, I guess, about a year ago, something like that, close-ish to that. Candace is the owner of Oak and Stone Realty, and she has come a long time in real estate. You're going to hear this, I think, but what I remember is that you have been in real estate pretty much since you were born. You just kind of were born into real estate. So we're gonna talk about that just for a minute. But Candace, thank you so much for your time today. I'm really glad you're on the show.
Thank you. I am actually really excited. Like you said, we ended up meeting in a roundabout way, and it has been a blessing. We have went back and forth and connected in the real estate world, which is sometimes hard because everything's digital. And so this is an honor to be here, and I'm very thankful for it.
Oh, appreciate it. Before we started the show, we were talking to Candace about her boys. You've got two boys. I'm going to ask you about family in just a minute, but they were all excited for you this morning to be on this podcast, which is super cute. And how fancy it was going to be and all that. So this is great. And here we are on Zoom, not as fancy, but that's okay. It's still great to have you on the show. So tell us a little bit about your family. Who are you? Where'd you come from? All that.
Yeah, so I actually, my name is Candace Juarez, obviously, and I live and thrive in Grays Harbor County. I have lived here my entire life. I recently moved a couple years ago to Montesano, which is the cutest little quaint town, and I absolutely love it. I bought my first home on my own after a divorce, and for my children and I, which was a really big accomplishment for me and a neat process, to be honest with you, as being on the flip side of what we do. I have two little boys, and they are 11 and 8. We are extreme soccer players. If there's any soccer players, we cried through the World Cup. It was a whole thing at my house. And so it's been really, really fun. I love being a boy mom. And because of this amazing career, I've been able to be present in the entirety of their lives, which is part of the reason why I do what we do. I do have a wonderful partner who is incredibly supportive and has his own business himself. And so we're able to thrive together and dream together. And then just recently, we added a beautiful little baby girl, Indiana, our Cavapoo poodle. And she has brought us immense amount of joy. And I say she is actually my best of my 3 children. So
that's right. Listens most. Yeah, I bet they do.
She listens.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And isn't there a nickname for where you live?
So I live in Monty. That's what
Monty.
we all call it.
People call it Monty. Okay.
Yep.
Right.
That's right.
And yeah. Okay. Like Monte Carlo, and you're just Monty. I got it.
Yep. Just Monty.
I dig it.
And it's funny because my office is in Cosmopolis, but everybody here just calls it Causey.
Oh,
so
all right.
I work in Causey, live in Monty. Yeah.
The shorthand for that area. I love it. That's
right.
cool. That's
Yep.
cool. So let's go back to what I said earlier, kind of in jest, but it's not really that, it's not really a joke, is that this has been your career, correct? I mean, you kind of
Yes.
started. Okay. So tell
Yep.
us about that.
When I went to go out of, my parents' house, I went into the local college here. I got one job and it was at a hotel. It was an incredible job and I took it to its fullest. And I ended up having my friends over and having pool parties. And of course, that's frowned upon. So my first and only actual job aside from our career, I got fired, which is hilarious. But it was worth the epic pool party at the time with all my college friends. And then, yeah, it was funny. I realized I was good at sales and I loved people and my community. And I got my real estate license and I have been now a broker for almost 20 years, which is crazy. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
And I still love it.
Yeah, really. Right. That's important. You were at kind of a bigger name firm for a while. Have you been just at one firm before you started your company?
I was actually at 3 total. So I was at a small hometown firm for the first 10 years, 9 years of my career. And they started making some internal changes that I didn't really jive with. Windermere recruited me, which is actually a good friend of mine, the owner of Windermere. And I worked there until just this last year when it was finally time for me to spread my wings and follow my dreams and open up my own office. So
that's so cool. Tell us a little bit about the name of your company. Where'd that come from?
It's one of those kind of things, as we learn in real estate, we're all about pivoting, and that's what I ended up having to do. So my original name was different, and I got approval, and I was all excited, and then I wasn't able to get the DOL's approval, and so I was searching for something that was as cool and modern as I wanted the office to be. And so oak and stone is essentially the mixture of the highest quality tree, also in our area, and then stone. And so mixing oak and stone to build your home, and then including us as your brokerage, kind of coming with that high end, that luxury, solid build. So Oak and Stone Realty Group.
That's cool. Right on. That's so cool. I'm going to mention this later as well, but for those of you who have clients that are trying to relocate or folks that are in that area, some of the goals today is to have you get to know Candace, to be able to refer her brokerage and her brokers to those folks that need help in the area. So
yeah,
here you get another contact here. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning of your career. Do you remember it? It's almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, I do.
Actually. Yeah, you've been fired from your job at the hotel because you had an epic pool party. I love it. And you're stepping into real estate. What would you say were some of the things that you learned early on in this career?
The one thing that I did learn is that do your research and really become knowledgeable. When I first became into the career path, I was a baby. I was 22 years old, and you could tell. And so at first, my career was, I wouldn't say it took off in prosperity at first because I was so young. I didn't have a lot of experience, and I was just kind of going with it. And so I think in the beginning of your career, become educated, know your forms, know your information, go to the classes that the MLS provides, because I think that if I would have done that from the beginning, I did find success, obviously, but it was a slower start, I think, because of that. I was there to have fun at first.
Yeah. And it's really more fun when you know the forms, right? I mean, it really is.
Yeah. It's a lot more fun when it's not like
panicked.
Yes.
Yeah. So get educated on the forums. And I know that you do this at your brokerage. We certainly do it at Scout. But I think there are actually a ton of brokerages that don't do it. And that's to say, ask your managing broker to say, we need a forms class. We need somewhere where we get to be accountable to learning these outside of the actual scary moment when we have to do it because there's a buyer or seller that needs something, right? Every third week at Scout, we have a forms class where we take out Form 21 and we go line by line down, which could sound really boring, but at the end of the day, it's exactly what people need to sort of unpack it in a quiet atmosphere where they're not, panicked about writing an offer. So I know that you do a lot of training.
Yeah, we do a lot of training. We have we have a guest speaker once a month, and then I do training essentially at our meetings once a month as well. It's all about that education. It's all about knowing what we're doing because we're technically working on behalf of these clients that need to be represented properly. So
definitely. So once you got your feet wet and started to get more education, when did you start to see production really happen for you? Like when did it turn the corner in your career?
I think once I started getting my information more out there and learning about advertising and marketing and what that looks like and getting people to know me as a human, I think that's the most important part in real estate is people can buy real estate from anybody. It's if they like you, they like what you're putting out there, they like the job that you do, they like your referral system. I'm really big into my community. I always have been. And as I got more involved in my community and got myself out there as a human, I got a lot more support back within my business. My whole business, I'm very blessed in the fact that it's all sphere-based. I don't do a ton of external advertising. I really just focus on what I call my army, which I will explain later on. And that's what's fed me for almost 20 years now. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Something you've said that I think I'm just going to point out for the listeners that we've heard lots of high producers say on the show is to say, be yourself, go be human, go do the things you love to do. And because you love them and the joy you have around them, people will be drawn to you. And then, the side note is, oh, by the way, I sell real estate. And they're like, well, I want to work with her or I want to work with him as a result of that. That's great. And then you said something about being active in the community. And your community, if you're in a city like as big as Seattle or as small as Monty, right? It's about saying, where's your niche of people that you are involved with and give back to and all of that, right? So it's not sitting at home hoping your phone rings because it won't, right? It won't,
right.
But it's where are you getting out there to be active and be contributing and volunteering in your community. I love it. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you started to gain some success. You were still active in your community. What do you think were some of your best practices sort of on a practical level that you did? Like, let's go granular, sort of gritty right now and get down to like on a day-to-day basis. What do you think were some of the things that contributed to you turning the corner and becoming a really high producing agent?
Finding places where I could, like I said, Rotary, for example, and this was just a small example. I got involved in Rotary. I got involved in Rotary. I was able to make business connections, right? So now I've got business owners who know my face, are getting to know me. I'm giving to my community. I'm giving to the people of my community, but it's a win-win for everybody. So now I'm kind of getting out there in that forum, and then getting to know the moms on my soccer team, honestly. And I'm doing this genuinely. I'm doing this organically by getting to know all of those moms and our love for our children. But then again, when it comes to real estate, I'm wearing my real estate branded merch, right? I'm wearing the stuff that puts me out there. And so those people will be like, hey, oh, you work at that time was Windermere, right? And so that works. And then we have an annual campaign. I really believe in my local YMCA. I'm very passionate about it. It's brought a lot of goodness to my life and my family over the years. And so we have an annual campaign. And so I would post in real estate about the annual campaign and this and that. And then people want to be a part of what I'm doing. And then they end up getting like on my social media pages and they end up following me. And then I will drop a nugget every once in a while about, oh, by the way, I am also a broker, right? I always tell my brokers it's about planting those seeds. It takes a while. You don't wake up tomorrow and say, you know what, I want a garden. And then all of a sudden you just have this entire garden covering your backyard, right?
Right.
You got to plant those seeds in spring so that they flourish. And then you have to nurture them by nurturing your community for me or my sphere of influence.
Yeah, that's great. And great illustration. You talked a little bit about, you just said something about being a mom. I remember a broker said to me, I'm 5 years in and I'm recognizing that a lot of the broker friends that I have are moms and they get a ton of business from their mom circle. She's like, I need to just go have some kids. Apparently, this is what's going to work. And I was like, well,
just join the PTO.
That's right. Yeah. Go grab some kids and you'll get successful. But again, just reinforcing wherever you are in your life, no matter what your age is, or if you have kids or not kids, single, married, older, younger, be where you are and go surround yourself with people for what you love. And they'll want to follow that because you're finding passion in your life in general. Right. And they'll follow it. That's cool. Okay, so you've been doing this a long time. You've showed a lot of houses. You've listed houses. There has to be a story or two in there of something weird or funny that you've encountered. Tell us something funny.
There's so many. And I thought about this because I do actively listen to your podcast myself. I really enjoy your podcast personally. And I remember your cat story about the gentleman and all his lovely photos, which reminded me of one because, I've been doing this a long time. And so I think probably the one that still gives me a chuckle to this day is it was a young couple. They were buying their first home. and they came with their father in tow, and we went out to a property. It was a second level property. So as soon as you come up to the stairwell, you could go and walk into the home, which would typically have been your stereotypical living room, should be a couch and a TV. But instead, there was a small table with two like viewing chairs, not necessarily like recliner, but like actual chairs next to this little tiny table. And on this tiny table was a picture of a woman, and she was lovingly holding her cat. And this large photo, it was a big photo, not a small one. And then in front of said photo was a small tin with little paw prints on it. And assuming that this is the little kitty's urn, right? And next to this picture. But what made it even more disturbing was directly next to this large photo of the woman holding her cat, next to it was a picture of the woman herself, by herself.
No.
In the photo, Sane's cat now, and then an urn of, I'm assuming, her in front of her own picture.
Oh boy.
And so it was,
wow.
We didn't look at the rest of the house, ironically. That was it. That was, we were done. That was a stopper.
Yeah.
We did not write an offer. So very weird.
Wow. Super weird. I always wonder whenever I see this stuff, even to this day, like I want to look at the listing agent and go, WTF? Like, what are you doing right now?
Where were you at on that one?
Where were you? Did you even tour the home before you threw a sign in the yard? Right? Like, wow, that is crazy. Yeah, we see wild stuff, don't we? We just
suggestions, please. Suggestions for the sellers. Yeah.
I want to know what the silent talker would say next to all that stuff. You know, please respect this area as it's the burial site for the owner and her cat.
Well, you don't want to talk. You just want to be respectful and quiet, which is not ideal for a showing.
Pocket Hours is brought to you by Scout Real Estate. Hi, I'm Jennifer Nelson, owner at Scout Real Estate. I started this firm with the vision of doing things differently, with our focus on legendary service for our clients and creating a community of producing agents to spur each other to do higher quality work. If you are interested in learning more about how a small group of like-minded brokers have come together to have some fun while doing a lot of business, reach out to me, 206-227-7966, or email jennifer@scoutrealestate.com. I promise you this, fun is a high priority for me, but so is winning. So if you appreciate those two things, you might be interested in Scout. Looking forward to hearing from you. I don't know if you're like this too, Candace, but when I am with buyers, we always name the houses that we go see because we're trying to remember them. So if we're going to go see 5 houses, we'll walk in. By the end of it, I always say, what do we want to name this house? Sometimes it just comes naturally, right? Yeah. So I wonder what that name of that house would have been in reference to it, you know, like the urn house or the dead cat house. Burial site house.
Not ideal.
Not ideal.
Yeah,
okay. No. I want to transition, although that was awesome. I want to transition into a little day in the life of Candace. So we know that with real estate that is sort of a joke because one of the reasons we're drawn to this profession is that no day is like the other, right? But give us sort of a snapshot of what a day in the life of your life looks like.
Yeah. So I find that self-care and health is really important to me. And I feel like that helps me be a better mother and a better owner and broker and all the above. And so typically our morning starts out, we get up, we do our spelling words, we do the breakfast, we do the kid things, right? I get my 2 little beautiful sons off to school. I head straight there to the gym. I get my endorphins going. I get my gym time in, and it gets my head right. And then from there, I'll head into the office and I will meet with my operations manager. I like to start our day with, okay, what have we accomplished in the last week? What are we working on this week? What are our goals for this week? I like micro goals. I do, obviously larger goals as well, but I like a micro goal. I like something really tangible, really, really easy to feel good about for that week. And so we will set our goals on Friday for our Monday to start our week off right and with enthusiasm. So we'll typically kind of go through that list. I start out first by touching base with all my current active clients and deals. I need to touch them. I need to talk to them. Not literally, of course, but, just get that communication rolling for the week, give them those updates. And then once that's accomplished, I'll go into my follow-ups, my emails, and then hopefully into showings and stuff like that for my workday.
I like what you just said about micro goals because goals can be so intimidating, especially when we're going far out. I almost feel like our brain can't really do big, huge, long-term goals. Like we really need shorter term hits in a way to say, did I hit that? Okay, what's the next one? So I love that. That's great. If a new broker comes into Oakenstone and they say, besides what you've already said in terms of how to get business started, what else would you tell them to do? Is there anything else you can think of? Hey, I want to grow my business. What should I be focused on? Is there anything else that comes to mind?
Like I said previously, and this is a unique thing for me, but I have always focused on my sphere of influence, right? So I feel like they talk about a cold lead and a hot lead and a warm lead. I think we've all probably heard that terminology. A hot lead or a warm lead is always the best. You're already kind of have an in, right? So if I get a referral, somebody that says, hey, you may not know Candace, but I think she's awesome, I'm probably going to earn their business, right? And so I typically start out my new brokers. I say, make me a list. I want a list, and I want a list of everybody you know, and I want it to be your friends, your family, your peeps, your hairdresser, and I want it to be as long and broad as humanly possible, and I want you to cast that net. And then we're going to take that list, and we are going to send out a postcard that says, it's an informational postcard. I don't want anything from you, but I want you to know, hey, guess what? I'm super excited. I have a new career path, and if you have any questions, give me a call. And that's typically how we start their processes, because if those warm leads can come in while we start working on those cold leads, hopefully you're kind of getting it from both sides.
Yeah, that's great. It's so true. I mean, right, the stats are out to say you can go buy leads on Zillow, or you can be promised leads from a brokerage that you work at that you know, hey, for this program, you could spend $200 a month and we'll send you 10 leads. And chances are none of them are going to actually convert because those are cold leads. But certainly calling someone who already likes you and saying, hey, I need your help. Do you know anybody who's interested in buying or selling, or however that works? Yeah, that's great. Let's go back to social media for a minute. You have a really great social media presence. Tell us about why you do that and what you think you get from it, both from Oakenstone and also for your own business.
Yeah, so social media, I know that there's a mixed bag on social media, right? And you would think that because I've been doing this for a really long time, that I wouldn't necessarily have jumped with both feet into the social media world, because I didn't have it when I first started, as crazy as that sounds. I'm not even that old, but it's a true statement, right? So the reason that I find that social media is unbelievably important, and I would definitely get into a friendly debate with anybody that says it's not for real estate purposes, is because it's free, you guys. It's free. If you want to get in front of clientele and you want to be top of the mind awareness for those people that you do real estate, what other avenue do you have that is completely free? You can boost a post for $14 if you really want to get into it. But I use social media. I use multiple platforms. We actually use 4 different platforms. But the ones that I primarily focus on is Instagram and Facebook. And I do them for 2 separate purposes. So for Facebook, that's an avenue of me to say, hey, just a reminder, sphere of influence and people that I know, I do real estate. So I will post a picture of my children in our Oakenstone matching sweatshirts, right? Subliminal messaging. And it's just reminding them what I do. And so if the next day, Auntie Jane says real estate, they think of Candace, right? Instagram is I do have an operations manager now, but I did this solo for the last 18 years of real estate. And I post informational stuff, I post interesting stuff, and I post things of value. And so that they are still engaging in my page. But one thing that has really helped me recently is I personally take the stories of my Instagram and I make my stories very personal. People want to know us. They want to know what we do in our daily lives. If you've ever looked at your algorithm, as soon as I post my face, that thing spikes. People just want to know. I am very strategic about my posting. I will post my cute little doggy, and then I'll post my soccer field view for the day, but then I'll post myself, and I will for sure make sure it has something to do with real estate. And I get a lot of engagement, and it's more of just reminding people what we do in a very practical and informational way.
A couple of the things you said, what I love is that people do want to know us. And we want to know each other. Let's be honest. If I have a friend even, right, that doesn't do real estate, but is on my Instagram page and all they post is about the work that they do, regardless of the work they do, pretty soon I'm not that interested in following it, right?
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Who else are you besides what you do for work, right? I love how you mix and really blend well, sort of, hey, I'm a mom and here's what my kids are doing today. And here's our cool new hats. And also, by the way, you should know the market's up, 4% or whatever. Like you just sort of have this balance between here I am. Oh, I'm also a real estate agent and a mom and a partner and right, all the things. So great job.
Makes
by
us
the way.
relatable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We're human too. That's great.
Yep.
Let's change gears for a minute and talk just a little bit about this market. And for listeners that are listening to this later, what we're referencing right now is the beginning of the year of 2023. And it's kind of weird. That weird's the word I'm using these days for this market. We've come off of a interest rate spike that's historical in 2022, more than doubling from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, which is historic. And here we are at the start of a year. So give us a little bit of your thoughts about, hey, if your client says to you, Candace, what's 2023 in real estate going to look like? What do you say?
Because I have been doing it a long time, I'm able to go back to the 2007 and 8 days where we had a full-on crash. That was scary. That was a really big deal. And so for me, I like to tell clients, the real estate market will always ebb and flow. It goes up and down, rates go up and down, but what never ever goes up and down is the investing in real estate. It's the most lucrative chance that you have to invest in life that will always give you a return. Real estate is never ending, that and gold, right? So yeah, maybe interest rates are a little higher right now, but if you went back a decade, they're actually still historically low. Our interest rates are not actually that high. They're still beautiful. And comparing them to what I call COVID rates is really not fair, right? It was a pandemic and we had to do something to keep our economy moving. For me, I actually love the way the market is right now. I'm not having to offer $100,000 over asking price on a property. I'm not competing with 15 other brokers for a property that my buyer really, really loves and wants for their family. And so my point is that the market is always changing. It's always evolving, but real estate is always an excellent investment. And even if you were to buy now at a little bit of a higher rate, you probably saved a ton of money from 6 months ago where you had to pay $100,000 more for the property.
Absolutely. Gosh, I love that. That's an awesome perspective. And honestly, it's coming from someone who's been doing this 20 years that's sort of in a little bit better place to say, hey, everybody calm down. And
okay.
Here's why.
I promise it's okay.
It's going to be okay.
Yeah,
that's right. Wise Mama Candace is speaking here to say,
that's right.
You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. I love that you just referenced COVID rates. That's beautiful. What a great term. Yeah. And honestly, there's always still people looking for homes, right? It's beautiful, right? They're always going to be here. So we just need to go find them.
Offer services.
Yeah. Quick story. I grew up, my father's still alive and he's a fantastic guy, but he had 3 daughters at the time before my brother came. And we used to play Monopoly. Uh-huh. And my father was hardcore about games. He's a competitive guy. He's a producer, and so he would have these 3 young girls, and I mean young, like 5, 7 years old, playing Monopoly, and he would just crush us. He would take all of our houses. He would like, and my mom, he'd crush us. My mom's in the other room yelling to my dad, Jerry, you got to play nicer. They're too young. You can't actually, take their last dollar. And he would be like, well, that's the way the world works, tough it up, girls. So it's interesting because housing, I tell that story as a joke, but housing will always be there. We all need houses, right, to live in. And even if the prices change, it just means that we have to work a little bit harder for the same amount of income, but the work's still there. The work's still
Absolutely. Yeah. Just provide that excellent service. Just give more than expected at all times.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Under promise, over deliver. We like it.
Absolutely.
So Candace, before we kind of finish up, I guess the last question for you is just to say, as listeners are tuning into this call, is there anything else that you want to share just about what you do, how you do it, any best practices that you can think of that we haven't already covered, or just any last thoughts?
I would just say you're in an amazing career path. 20 years in, I can say with honesty, I love what we do. I do. I love it every single day. I love the challenge. I love the excitement. I love that it's always different, right? We never get bored in real estate because every transaction is different. But my biggest advice would be collect your people and love on them and have them be your biggest, what I call my army. I call my sphere of influence my army. I make sure that the people that either have done business with me, might do business with me, my friends, my family, I love on them. I treat them really well. I make sure that I give like above service, above self. And that has proven to be what has made me successful in this career path. And so that would probably be my best advice that I could lend.
I love it. Yeah. Thank you for circling back. I love the Army. I've heard other people refer to being the mayor of their own little town, right? Just that they're sort of people look to them and they respect them and they know they're going to care for them in a really powerful way. So that's great.
Yes. Yes.
Let's go back to Monty, and Oak and Stone. So folks listening to this, wherever you are coming from, if you have folks in that area that are looking to sell and are looking for a referral, and or folks moving from wherever you are into that neck of the woods, certainly please reach out to Candace and her group at Oak and Stone. So
yeah, we'll treat them like our own and vice versa as well. So I really appreciate your time, Jen.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for being on the call. And well, I'm sure we're going to be doing one of our normal owner lunches here soon. So
yes, I can't wait. I again, connect with people and keep them close and keep those friendships going because we can all help each other.
Lovely. Thanks a lot, Candace. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much for listening in to Pocket Hours. I hope this has been interesting, fun, made you laugh, made you think, spurred you on to do and implement some new things in your business. I appreciate your time and hope this has been a good use of it, period. Now, go be the agent you would hire.